Set to launch in the fall of 2000, the Digital Dakota Network, also known as the DDN, provides for interactive television, high-speed internet, local and wide area networking. The purpose of the DDN is to integrate technology into the learning process to quickly and permanently raise the level of education in the state of South Dakota, so the children of today and tomorrow will have the knowledge and skills to compete on a global level.
This is the one last chance for South Dakota to move from one of the lower ends of the economic ladder in America to the very top. There is no more important venture that we're working on in the state today.
Governor Janklow's Capital City Conclave on Distance Education was a two-day event held in July 2000. The purpose of the conclave was to gather the information necessary to determine the most efficient way to implement the Digital Dakota Network. Governor Bill Janklow has laid the foundation for this network.
We've got about 135,000 K-12 kids in South Dakota. We have wired 101,000 slots, 6 public universities. All of them by the end of this year will be wired. We've wired every public library in the state. It's done. We're wiring the juvenile detention facilities. It will be done by the end of the year. There is nothing left to wire in South Dakota.
Through the efforts of Dr. Michael Simonson of Nova Southeastern University, his associate Kristen Sparks, president of RTS and Associates International, and Tammy Bauk of the Department of Education and Cultural Affairs, the Conclave on Distance Education brought 12 recognized experts to the state capitol where they shared their collective experience with the governor and 50 ambassadors. These 12 experts, coined the Dakota Dozen, are leaders from the state and the nation who came to share their ideas about education, technology, and distance education. Their input will guide the state of South Dakota toward the successful implementation of the Digital Dakota Network.
And so with all this in place, how do we now put it to use to enhance the learning process? That's what we need to do. How do we go the next step?
Is there a way that we can really focus on the idea of instruction being improved through this initiative, because what we're doing is we're really focusing on the long-term outcome, the teaching and learning down the line.
What we have to do is go back and change our assumptions and beliefs to fit what we believe reality will be and should be for tomorrow.
Children are the key to making that happen. Linking kids with kids to solve problems or whatever would turn it into the learning community we're talking about.
On the first day of the conclave, the Dakota Dozen split into 3 groups for roundtable discussions. The focus of these discussions were 3 white papers: Start with the Children, Empower the Workforce, and Promote Economic Development.
The whole idea is that if you can shift from the teacher being the center to learner being the center, then we can make that ultimate shift really to learning, producing learning.
Just another way of getting the message out. And what we're trying to do is ignite those little fires, those little campfires, to become roaring, bonfires.
And I see workforce development as one very particular way in which adults can become very involved with the technologies, just like the children to become involved in the technologies.
That brings up a really interesting question, and the question is, what is economic development?
South Dakota is going to transform itself into an information society-based kind of commonwealth, if you will.
All of South Dakota can benefit from this, and the people who are educated through such a system can go out and benefit the rest of the world.
The groups presented their ideas from the white paper discussions to the governor with the intention of educating the people involved in building the framework of the DDN.
We thought there needed to be some entity that oversees the DDN, who makes determinations like how's it going to be communicated, how's it going to be marketed. We already have a DDN policy that's fairly extensive, and I would imagine that will be an evolving document as we go along and as we as we learn from our experiences there.
You change the attitude that it's not just the K-12 education's DDN network.
Right.
It's everyone's DDN network.
I mean, education is the great equalizer in our society. I think we would all agree on that principle. And that access to knowledge is access to power.
The second day, 50 of the state's recognized leaders were invited to join as ambassadors. This day also brought with it more ideas and sound advice from the Dakota Dozen. Each one discussed their individual experiences and offered solutions to some of the issues that South Dakota will face as they move forward with the DDN.
Technology is good, but it's not the total answer. There's more to it than just technology. Technology is a part of the solution. We need to look at learning. We need to look at how children, how adults learn.
The things you're going to do now, the adventure you're going to take on is going to be real resource dependent. And we've got to look for creative ways beyond the next appropriation cycle in order to sustain this thing.
How are we going to know if our learners are active learners? How do we break out of our expectations and do more than give lip service to that concept of students not being passive, but instead making decisions for themselves, figuring things out, doing some problem solving?
If I have $1 and I give my $1 over here to Ron, I no longer have that $1. But if I have knowledge and I share that knowledge with Ron, we both have the knowledge. And that changes everything.
And the return on investment is going to be better educated kids, lifelong learning, the ability to stimulate and generate developing business and industry within our communities, the ability to allow our existing businesses expand with the use of technology. So the list can go on and on.
I know how much this means to our governor and how critical it is that we continue to have opportunities like this to talk about our technology and the access to good technology in South Dakota. We want to do the right thing, but I think it's going to take some guidance from the people in that room as we continue out here. Making sure we stay focused and set our priorities in a way that allow us to deal with the most important needs first.
The governor addressed the ambassadors and asked for their help in making the Digital Dakota Network a success.
You, ladies and gentlemen, have been a key ingredient. There are others like you, but there aren't many. But you've been the key ingredient that's helped drive this whole thing from the time that we started wiring the schools a few short years ago. And it'll make it far easier as we utilize this technology to enhance learning, which is the key. We all know you can't replace teachers with machines, but the tools that teachers have sometimes can make a huge difference. There is no more important venture that we're working on in the state today.
At the conclusion of Day 2, each person was awarded a portfolio as ambassador to the DDN. The 50 returned home with a clearer understanding and an increased level of support for the initiatives that will ensure the success of the Digital Dakota Network.
I hope you appreciate how much Bill Janklow and the staff appreciate you taking the time and the effort to help us make the decisions that we have to make and to work with you to doing the thing that's the most important thing in this state, and that's to make sure that we have the most quality educational opportunity in the world for the kids of South Dakota.
The current and proposed technology initiatives in South Dakota are part of a comprehensive plan to infuse technology throughout the state and to provide technology skills to students, teachers, administrators, government employees, and the workforce.
It starts with the kids. We're giving them the ability to reach their potential as human beings.
Governor Janklow's Capital City Conclave on Distance Education.